Hey everybody, this is Rob Keens with GoldSilverPros.com. It is the return of the Tuesday evening Cowboy Metals live stream. We're doing this a little bit late today just because I had a busy day and we wanted to do another evening version here just for a change of pace. We'll go back to our normal daily lives that we do on Tuesdays, 1:30 p.m. Central Time. But we're going to do this one today, and we're going to be talking about the new digital currency unit. Is the IMF putting out a new digital currency unit for the world? Is this rumor? What's going on? There have been a lot of questions about it. Well, I did a little bit of research and we're going to talk about it. It's interesting that I don't think that the IMF has fully endorsed this yet, but there are a lot of cash controls being put in place, and I think we're moving to this. I'm going to explain that. And I think if you want to get your gold and silver, you got to do it now. In fact, you may not be able to buy gold and silver with cash without being tracked here very, very shortly. And that's only in the US, that's in the world. We're going to talk about that. And that's probably the biggest thing from all of this is the tracking's coming and they're going to put capital controls to where you can't buy what you need. And so if you want to get your gold and silver, you want to get it now. We have a poll up as usual on our lives. Are you prepared for capital or cash controls that prevent you from spending over a certain limit? Please answer that poll and know that super chats are open. If you want to get my attention, you can put in a super chat and I guarantee you I will answer your question and I'll do my best otherwise to answer it if I can. Thank you to our channel moderator, Peter Frohwein, for stopping by and riding shotgun with us and doing moderator duties at the controls. And thank you everybody else for joining. David Thiemann is here. Brother Joel in Faith is here. Neil Hans Dynasty is here. And we have a whole bunch of other people joining. Thank you for joining the stream. We're going to get right into it. And I'm going to start with a couple of videos. And on those videos, we're really just going to talk about what's going on. And I'm going to start with Fareed Zakaria talking about the death of the dollar on CNN. It's very interesting to note that they're now openly talking about the death of the dollar in mainstream media. And I think this is to prepare us for what's coming. I think they're getting ready to roll out digital currencies. I think the world saw what happened with the bank failures and the world is seeing what's happening with de-dollarization. And so they're forced to acknowledge this probably before they want to in mainstream media. And so now mainstream media, they're out talking about it. So we're going to share this video and we're going to talk about it, what's going on. And I just find this very interesting. So let's dive right into it. And this was, again, Fareed Zakaria on CNN.
Here's my take. The most interesting outcome of the three-day summit between Vladimir Putin and Xi Jinping got limited media attention. Describing their talks, Putin said, "We are in favor of using the Chinese yuan for settlements between Russia and the countries of Asia, Africa, and Latin America." So, the world's second largest economy and its largest energy exporter are together actively trying to dent the dollar's dominance as the anchor of the international financial system. Will they succeed? The dollar is America's last surviving superpower. It gives Washington unrivaled economic and political muscle. It can slap sanctions on countries unilaterally, which frees that country out of large parts of the world economy. And Washington can spend freely, certain that its debt will be bought up by the rest of the world. The war against Ukraine, combined with Washington's increasingly confrontational approach to China, have created a perfect storm in which both Russia and China are accelerating efforts to diversify away from the dollar. Their central banks are keeping less of their reserves in dollars, and most trade between them is being settled in the yuan. They are also making efforts to get other countries to follow suit. The Biden administration has handled the economic war against Russia extremely effectively by building a coalition of almost all the world's advanced economies. That makes it hard to escape from the dollar into other highly valued stable currencies like the euro or the pound or the Canadian dollar, because those countries are also warring with Russia. What might have been a sharper turning point for the dollar's role was Donald Trump's decision in May 2018 to pull out of the Iran nuclear deal. The European Union was strenuously opposed to this move, but it watched as the dollar's dominance meant that Iran was immediately excluded from the world economy. Jean-Claude Juncker, then president of the European Commission, proposed enhancing the euro's role internationally to shield the continent from what he called selfish unilateralism. The Commission outlined a path to achieve this. It hasn't happened. There remain too many fundamental doubts about the future of the euro itself. Dollar dominance is firmly entrenched for many good reasons. A globalized economy needs a single currency for ease and efficiency. The dollar is stable. You can buy and sell it anytime, and it's governed largely by the market and not the whims of a government. That's why China's efforts to expand the yuan's role internationally have not worked. Ironically, if Xi Jinping wanted to cause the greatest pain to America, he would liberalize his financial sector and make the yuan a true competitor to the dollar. But that would take him in the direction of markets and openness that is the opposite of his current domestic goals. All that said, Washington's weaponizing of the dollar over the last decade has led many important countries to search for ways to make sure that they do not become the next Russia. The numbers are revealing. The share of dollars in global central bank reserves has dropped from roughly 70% 20 years ago to less than 60% today and falling steadily. The Europeans and the Chinese are trying to build international payment systems outside the dollar-dominated SWIFT. Saudi Arabia has flirted with the idea of pricing its oil in yuan. India is settling most of its oil purchases from Russia in non-dollar currencies. Digital currencies might be another alternative, and in fact, China's central bank has created one. All of these alternatives add costs. But the last few years should have taught us that increasingly nations are willing to pay a price when they want political goals to trump economic ones. We keep searching for the single replacement for the dollar, and there will not be one. But could the currency suffer weakness by 1,000 cuts? That seems a more likely scenario. The author and investor Ruchir Sharma points out, right now, for the first time in my memory, we have an international financial crisis in which the dollar has been weakening rather than strengthening. I wonder if this is a sign of things to come. If it is, Americans should worry. I spoke last week about the bad geopolitical habits Washington has developed because of its unrivaled unipolar status. It's even more true economically. America's politicians have gotten very used to spending seemingly without any concern about deficits. Public debt in America has risen almost fivefold, from roughly $6.5 trillion 20 years ago to $31.5 trillion today. The Fed has solved a series of financial crises by massively expanding its balance sheet, almost 12-fold, from around $730 billion 20 years ago to about $8.7 trillion today. All of this only works because of the dollar's unique status. If that were to wane, America will face a reckoning like none before.
Hey, sorry guys, I had a little bit of mute on. We'll come back. So my opinion on that, or basically this, they're setting this up to basically say all of the events recently have led to this. It was the Iran thing, it was the Russia thing, and of course China doesn't want to be that. So now China, wants to have its own reserve currency, or wants to be separated from the dollar reserve currency system. And I think that's revisionist history, because I believe that this has been going on for quite some time, and I believe that that China's been wanting to get out of this for a long time, and I think this is revisionist history. I also don't think that the issues that he was talking about with respect to the Russia thing is the only reason people are getting out of the dollar. People are getting out of the dollar because it's the end of the dollar. It's the end of this system. It's the end of a currency iteration. And he was talking about the world needs a single reserve currency. If you heard him say that, I think he's setting the world up to go to a universal currency, but it's going to be a digital currency. He's advocating for that. I don't agree that there has to be one dominant currency. I happen to think it's great when you have a market of different currencies. Not only each nation state having their own currency type, but different currencies within the nation, so that the people themselves can determine which currency they want. And I think that's the only way you have true freedom. I think when the government is in the business of dictating currency to people, regardless of what type of currency it is where you have problems. And I don't think the world's quite ready yet to do a universal currency, but that's also what's being pushed. And that's what I want to talk about. I find this, endlessly fascinating. I've got another video from you for more people. This time, I believe it's on TikTok, Fox News, talking about this as well. And they're basically, I think, also setting this up for, hey, we have issues with, the dollar, and it's all right in your face now. They're trying to prep us for the fact that we're getting rid of the dollar, we're getting rid of paper currencies, and we're going into this digital currency system. But the stories they're using, the anecdotes they're using, the reasons they're using are skewed, I think. But listen to this one and how they're being very explicit about things that we've talked about for 4 years. I originally wrote on this in April of 2019 to my subscribers back on my website when I had a paid subscriber list on my website. This was a subscriber story I had in April 2019. Exactly 4 years ago, I started talking about this. The mainstream media has finally caught up, and listen to what they say.
Putin announced this week that Russia will begin using the Chinese yuan for international payments instead of the dollar. Saudi Arabia is also in talks with Beijing to do the same thing. Speaking of Saudi Arabia, meanwhile, they're in talks with Iran as well to consider an economic alliance with China and Russia. And they can even be joining the BRIC countries, which is an acronym for these countries here: Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. These countries all have emerging economies. So what happens if our economy and the U.S. dollar are no longer the world's dominant currency? Former Assistant Treasury Secretary and host of the Monica Crowley podcast, Monica Crowley, is here to weigh in. Monica, great to see you this morning. Let's start right there. What happens if these emerging economies move away from the U.S. dollar towards the Chinese yuan?
Well, good morning, Will. It's great to be with you. And it's really hard to overstate exactly how catastrophic the abandonment of the U.S. dollar would be as the world's global reserve currency. Look, since the end of World War II, the dollar has been the safe place to go, and it's been backed up by a couple of things. It originally was backed up by gold, but President Nixon took us off the gold standard, so there's no hard asset backing up the dollar anymore for the last 50 years. But also it's been backed up by the strength and economic power of the United States and the fact that oil has always been traded in dollars. If that were to end, that would mean the end of the U.S. dollar. Look, there is a perfect storm happening right now, Will. The world's reserve currency being that, having that status has been a real privilege, but we've abused the privilege by wholly reckless monetary and fiscal policies over many years, certainly over the last couple of years, which has really devalued the dollar. On top of that, now you do have this perfect storm of Biden's weakness, his war on American domestic energy production, the Ukraine war, and as you point out, because of all of these things, we've got America's enemies led by China forming a new economic bloc. And all it would take at this point now, because we're at this pivotal moment, Will, is for Saudi Arabia, who has indicated that they're open to this, to say, you know what, we're going to be open to considering other currencies to trade in oil. If that were to happen, there would be a complete implosion of the global economic system, but certainly the American economic system. And if that were to happen, you'd be looking at sky-high inflation, just raging Weimar Republic kind of inflation. If you think inflation is bad now, just wait. But more importantly, we would lose our economic dominance and we would lose our superpower status.
Monica, the world's reserve currency, you said it's a privilege for the United States for the dollar to have been the world's currency. How does that relate to each individual American? How has that changed or impacted or improved our lives throughout the last several decades?
Yeah, I mean, it's given the United States incredible dominance in the world in terms of the economic system and in terms of trade. It's kept prices down. So whether it's energy prices, whether it's your food prices, the entire global economic system is reliant on the safe and secure dollar. But that is no longer true, again, because we've been printing money like crazy and devalued the power of the dollar and the value of the dollar. But on top of it now, again, oil is the critical linchpin of this. If Saudi Arabia decides to join with America's enemies here and start trading oil in different currencies, that is going to undermine the entire global economic system. And here at home, you know what it's going to mean for us? It's going to mean raging inflation, so much worse than anything we have ever experienced, Will. And I'll tell you, they're setting it up so that they can then come to the rescue by introducing central bank digital currency. currencies.
Right.
If they were to do that, and the United States already has a pilot program, that means the loss of your individual economic freedom, because the government will have total access and control of everything you buy and sell, and the ability to turn it off like that.
Ominous warning. I hear you. Saudi Arabia is the tipping point. Oil trading in dollars is the tipping.
There you go. She said it right on Fox News, not messing around there at all. That's exactly what their plan is. And it's funny to see it on mainstream media when you don't see it. We haven't been seeing it. All of a sudden they're coming out, and you have to question, why is the mainstream media now waking up to this? Why are they getting involved? Why are they all of a sudden talking about this? And we've been talking about 4 or 5 years. It's because they know the central bank digital currencies are coming. Now, in Fox News, you got the warning about, look at the difference in coverage. In Fox News, you got the warning about them using this potentially to control transactions, or at least to monitor. I think monitoring is already in place. And I think you'd be brain dead to think that the government's not going to monitor with a digital currency, because they can. I mean, I don't care what anybody says. That's going to happen. But controlling that and having like a kill switch and pressing the button saying, you can't buy this, because we don't want you to, because this symbolizes freedom. You can't fucking buy this. That's what they can do with the central bank digital currencies. Take it from someone as a master's in cyber that was in tech for 25 years. If they get this system in place, they'll have a kill switch. There's always a kill switch. There's always a back door and a kill switch. And that's what you learn in IT. There's always a back door and there's always a kill switch every single time. If they get this system completely digital, that's what's going to happen. And I don't necessarily think that's what we all want to happen, but I think that's more than likely what's going to happen if they get central bank digital currencies in place. Now, we did play a couple of clips for you. There's other stuff that we want to talk about in, relation to all this. There's news around potentially the IMF and also potentially the DCMA getting involved with like an international monetary unit, digital currency monetary unit. Now, I did a bunch of research into this, and I'm going to tell you what I think about it. I don't think that's ready for prime time just yet, and I don't see the support for that just yet. But I think the system we're going into now with the regional central bank digital currencies, or the national central bank digital currencies, and this sort of, it's going to be an intermediary step of where you have these regional things, and then eventually we could get to a worldwide digital currency that people adopt. And I think the way that would be is it would be like an SDR, for example, and then other currencies, could trade in that. So you would use your digital dollar or your digital euro, depending on where you are, but then that universal currency would be traded over the top. I think that's the way the system is currently set up. Now, eventually they could roll out one currency for everybody. I don't think that they're ready yet, but let's get into the details on that. And let's see, where we are. I did some research, and I think, we have some interesting things here. So here's an article from investing.com talking about the IMF and this organization called the DCMA. Who is this? Unveiling universally monetary unit for banking. Now, this was launched at the IMF Spring Meetings 2023, although the IMF has not endorsed it, and that's a key thing here. The IMF has not come out and endorsed this. So the article is going to say that the IMF is putting this forward. They're not. These people came to the IMF Spring Meetings and they talked about it. The IMF has not openly said this is what we're going to do. It says here, Tobias Adrian, financial counselor at the IMF, emphasized the need for a multilateral platform to improve cross-border transactions, stating that such a platform could transform foreign exchange transactions, risk sharing, and financial contracting. They're describing the central bank digital currency system and the rails using XRP or something similar that allows that system to work, for each one of these to connect electronically. I think that's what they're covering. Now, the DCMA has their own objectives, and here's what it is. Per the DCMA, the Universal Monetary Unit, or the UMU, seeks to offer a legally recognized money commodity that can be transacted in any legal tender settlement currency. So you see what they're doing there. They're going over the top of like the digital dollar and the digital euro with the UMU, and they're advocating that the IMF should support this, and they're advocating that we have a super international currency. Now, this is not in place yet, but it's interesting to see as soon as we get in the CBDC era, and we're just now getting there. You saw the news releases that came out very recently, the mainstream media finally talking about it. So this is the official public introduction to the CBDC era across the world. You already have this other splinter group saying, but why don't we take the next step and do a worldwide currency? And you can clearly see that's design and what they want to do, because otherwise, why would the IMF have them at their event? So the IMF did not endorse it, but they allowed them at the event. What they're doing is they're taking the temperature of the room. The IMF wants to know, will people accept the UMU? Will they accept that? And that's why they're not endorsing, but they're inviting too, because they want to see. This is what they do. They throw something out. It's called a trial balloon. They see whether or not people accept it. They see the response, and then they go back and design their counter response based upon that. They did that with the rollout of the CBDCs in China. They did it with the rollout of CBDCs in Nigeria, and they're going to do it with the UMU whenever that eventually gets done. Now, who is this DCMA? Well, so far, when I tell, it's like a two-man operation. This is not something that has a lot of money or impetus behind it at the moment, and we're going to show you that. But Daryl Hubbard's been linked to it. He was executive director of DCMA and the chief architect of the UMU. He confirmed that the UMU aims to provide central banks worldwide with the precise solution that the IMF envisions. So in other words, he thinks the UMU would support the IMF vision of a one world currency and worldwide trade, which is what the IMF wants. It says here, the global localization public monetary system architecture of the UMU allows it to operate according to central bank regulations. So he's developed this system that he wants the IMF to adopt. Now, this has also been on PR Newswire, which got syndicated out to Yahoo Finance through Cision, which is a news agency, and they're talking about it. And they're talking about the executive team has been working with governments and central banks on blockchain and digital currency cryptography since 2013. So DCMA has been around for at least 10 years. They've been working with international governments. It's been featured by the European Commission, the United Nations, and the World Economic Forum now, and at an IMF conference. So the world powers these supranational organizations that seek to control currency and trade and regulate all that on top of nation states has been working with these DCMA. So even though nobody's publicly endorsed it, you can tell they're working on the next step of digital currencies. They're going to have the nation state ones, and then they're going to go over the top of this UMU or something like it. At least that looks like the initial design. Whether or not this comes out exactly like they're saying here is almost irrelevant. It's just that they have it in the pipeline. They're going to figure it out. So you're going to get a worldwide currency, and it's coming right now. And it doesn't matter where you are. They're going to control your spend. You're not going to be able to expat to somewhere and not be dealing with this. I don't care what nook and cranny of the world you're in. I don't care if you're sitting in a hovel on a beach in the middle of B-fucking-F-E. You're not going to get away from this system. They're going to keep doing it. They've got more here that look at all the flags from the UN and the DCMA website and talking about Crypto 2.0 and talking about CBDC and talking about the Unicorn Network, which is all these things. Look at what the Unicorn Network protocol solves. Know your customer. In other words, tracking. They know who you are. They get your social, they get your driver's license or whatever your country identifier is. In other countries, it's not social. And they're going to track you, okay? They're going to control issuers, branchers, agents, ledgers, tokens, wallets, rates, FX rates, trading rates like the dollar to the pound, for example, digital dollar, digital pound. They're going to monitor that. They're going to control money services. Think about Cash App and things like that. Escrow services. Think about title on your real estate. They've got spot protocol, authorizations, rates. All of this is in this system, which is being developed. Now, they're not huge. You only have 344 followers on Twitter, but they're actively promoting this and actively putting this out here. This is a danger to everybody because one thing to have digital currencies on a nation state level where you may be able to figure some ways around that or figure ways around, doing things locally. But if they get it international, you're not going to be able to go anywhere, transact anywhere. I don't care if you're online. I don't care if you're in person without this. And they're going to track everything that you have and they're going to be able to control it with a kill switch. Okay. That's the design of the system. And this is the system that they're putting out there. And if you want to get out of the system, ladies and gentlemen, there's only one way to do it. I'm going to tell you how to do it. And that's going to gold and silver, period. And if you don't do that, you are going to be a digital monetary slave, in my opinion. And yes, this would facilitate good commerce and electronic contracts and things, but it's dangerous to freedom. And without having other alternatives, you're going to be screwed, I think. And that's what I want to talk about next. If you want to get gold and silver, we have providers. And man, you definitely want to pay attention to this. I think we have the best provider in all, and that he provides it at a discount, low cost gold and silver, meaning low premium. He's lower premium than most people. It's my friend Ian Everard at Arc Silver. We are the exclusive, YouTube channel for him, and he's done such a great job for us. And you can get deals if you go through Gold Silver Pros. And the way to do that is to go to goldsilverpros.com, to go down the middle of the page under Arc and click on Access Deals and fill out this form and make sure that you whitelist this email and phone number, and Ian will reach out and contact you. And if you want to get low premium silver and some gold as well, he has that there. And we have, some of this, I'm going to put it up on screen. He's got this beautiful the Royal Mint bars or Britannias are absolutely gorgeous. This is one of my favorites. He stocks these. He stocks all the government coins as well. but he's got more stuff. And that's what we want to talk about. He's got these slices from COMEX bars. COMEX is where the silver is delivered on the industrial market. And you can order 1,000-ounce bars, but you can only order it through 2 brokers, and you have to have that relationship, and Ian does, and he can get these, and he has slices in his store, or you can order these online. He'll have them in 10-ounce increments, 20 and 25, I believe, and he gets this from Forsyth Engineering, who orders the bars and cuts them up. It's a partnership between Forsyth and ARC, and between us. We're a 3-person, promoting these, and we're the only ones, I think, that have these this way, and it's really, really cool. But we've got a super special announcement, because you guys, we've been talking about our bar, our Silver is Freedom bar. Well, I happen to have the very first issue that I hand poured and stamped myself with Jim at his location. This is the Silver is Freedom bar. These are now on pre-order. The only place you can get the Silver is Freedom bars is going to our website, goldsilverpros.com, clicking on ARC Silver and filling out that form. If you go any other way, we won't get them to you. These are limited edition. We did 90 on the first run, only 90. Ian, we're selling these exclusive through Ian at arcsilver.com. Okay, but you have to go through our form, goldsilverpros.com, fill out that form. So you saw it on Rob's show and you want one of these 10-ounce Silver is Freedom bars. These are hand pressed by yours truly, the first few, and the rest of them are hand pressed by our good friend Jim over at Forsyth Engineering. He also runs Citizens for Sound Money, which is a nonprofit promoting education of sound money. And then on the back, we laser etch these. This is bar number 2. This is actually going to Danny, our social media captain, who does all our social media for us. She actually designed this. This is custom designed by her. And so she gets bar number 2. I get bar number 1. And the rest of the 88 bars will be for sale. You can only get them through going through ARC Silver, only through the form on our website. And Ian will have these for you. It's on pre-order. So you have to get on the list. They're all made. Jim's made all 90. We just need to get those ready for distribution. But they're made, they're done, they're cast. Jim has put those out on Twitter. They're done, so you can watch our Twitter channel. We're going to have a video this coming Monday of me and Ian and Jim actually making these together. I'm going to show you that entire process from step A to Z and how we did these. This is so cool. I got to tell you guys, I got the bug. I want to do this again. It's almost like I want to build moment. This was so much fun. And this is just so special. And I'm very thankful to you guys, because you guys are the one that made this possible. You guys supporting the channel made our bars possible. And this is the debut. Again, pre-order, get your order in for how many you want. They're 10-ounce, and we'll get those delivered to you. It's very, very close. And Ian is running, he has some very special items. He's now getting into specialty items. One of our friends out there who's a metal worker is doing these really cool things. Now, these aren't ready just yet, but Ian's ordered quite a few of them. This is aluminum, not silver. So again, aluminum. But this is machined aluminum in the shape of a revolver cylinder. And you can see it's got the 6 places for the bullets to go, but it's big and it's a pencil or pen holder. So it's an organizer. And this is just custom machined out of aluminum. Ian's going to order about 100 of these. Very limited edition, done by a specialist who's been working with metal his whole career. This is what he does for a living. And he machined these aluminum, not silver, but aluminum pencil holders. And they're just gorgeous. Ian's going to have these at ARC Silver. If you fill out our form, you got to go to Gold Silver Pros, fill out our form and say, Ian, I'm interested in pre-ordering one of those aluminum pencil holders that Rob has. Those look really cool. You can do that. You can do our Silver is Freedom bars. You can do these and the regular bullion. He has tons of regular bullion. And you can also do the slices where we take the COMEX bars. Of course, mine has my name on it. And that's the bar I bought from Korea Zinc that got sliced up. And I got the first one from Jim, has as well. Okay, that's enough of the advertisement of what we got going on. But if you guys are interested in low premium silver, we have some of the lowest premium silver, and we have a custom bar. This will be a little bit higher premium silver because it was hand poured, and that's normal for hand poured, but we're still going to get this to you at a very good price, and it's very, very unique. This happens to match what's on our t-shirts, by the way. So if you're interested also in getting a t-shirt, you can click below on the bonfire link that's integrated with YouTube. That'll take you to our store, and you can get a shirt there. Now, that's going to do it for today. I'm going to sum this up, guys. First of all, thank you so much for being a part of the program. We appreciate all your support. We know that digital currency era is here. The mainstream media has finally started talking about 4 years after I was one of the first people on social media to talk about central bank digital currencies and cashless society. And I talked about it on social media. I wrote about it. I wrote about it in Seeking Alpha. I wrote about it on my website. And now it's here. And we also know the next stage, you know, the UMU, the international currency, which they're going to put over the top of all the other ones. That age is coming. And they're putting cash controls in place too. I'm reading stories about how Europe now has tracking for cash controls for anything over $1,000. Okay. And you can't spend more than 10,000. So there's a hard limit on 10,000 and they track you on everything over 1,000. Those are capital controls that are being put into place in Europe right now. If you want to order this in Europe, they're going to track you. They're going to know, and eventually they're going to stop you on anything over 10,000. Those capital controls are going to come to every country which is going to go cashless, which happens to be all of them based on the new system. So if you want your gold and silver, get it now. Do not wait. Get it now, because cash is going to go away. You're going to be in the digital currency. They're going to track everything. They're going to have a push button. They can stop it. And that's because they think that they need control of the system. They don't believe in free markets. We believe in free markets. But in order for you to have your own individual free market, when this all comes down and to get out of the system and have an alternative, you've got to get your gold and silver. There's no other way, and keep a little cash as well. All right, we're going to end the poll. The poll question was, are you prepared for capital cash controls that prevent you from spending over a certain amount? 50% say no, 10% said I hadn't even thought about it, and 40% say yes. So it looks like a little over half of people are not quite ready. If you're not ready, go get your silver. I don't care how you get it. I don't even care how you get it from, but if you want to get it cheaper, go through Ian at Arc Silver on our website, but please just get it. Even if you don't get it from us, consider going into precious metals. I'm not your financial advisor. I can't tell you what you do. You got to consult your own financial advisor. Don't use this as trading advice. But if you're looking at alternative system, this is the only one that I can see, and that's what I recommend. But again, do your own due diligence. That's my disclaimer. Thank you, Peter, for riding shotgun. As always, he's been a great help to the channel. He's been the one consistent moderator we've had from the start. He's done a wonderful job. And Peter, we love you so much. And by the way, I've gotten one of these bars earmarked for you, Peter, for being moderator. So stay tuned when I get it, and I'll send that off to you. We're going to try to get you bar number 3, or at least in the original couple, so you can have that for being channel moderator. Thank you so much. And thank you, everybody, for joining the program and being a part of Gold Silver Pros. We'll be back tomorrow night. Ian's going to be back on the program. We're going to talk about what he's got going on. And then Thursday, I've got a very special video for you. Stay tuned to that. And then Friday, we got our weekly market wrap. We've got videos every day this week to keep you educated, keep you on the channel. Don't leave. We got tons of content. Don't leave. Stay here. This is your Gold Silver Pros channel. I think we do a pretty good job. I think you guys think we do too, and that's why you're here. And we appreciate you for doing that and for being a big part of it. Wouldn't be here without you guys. Thank you so much. Okay, until next time, this is Rob Kientz with Gold Silver Pros.